Take the leap. Jump in head first. In the last 5 years of my life, I've taken more risk than I have in the first 20 before that. And only being 25, I understand that my perspective and my life experience isn't as vast or isn't as deep, maybe, as a lot of people's. And a lot of people are giving advice on the internet, and that's great. And I'm sure a lot of them have a lot more context than I'm able to give. But based on my experiences and the things that I've done, taking the leap has never been a bad thing because even if you fail, you grow and you learn from it. So, over the last 383 days, I have been self employed completely. This isn't the first time I've been fully self employed, but this is the first time that I've done so in this fashion. Now, over the last year, I can't say it hasn't been stressful. I can't say my hair hasn't gotten considerably more gray. And I can't say that it hasn't been the most fulfilling year of my life. All these things are true, but at the same time, you also have to know that when you take that leap, it's not guaranteed to succeed. And I didn't know that I would be here in a year. I didn't know that I would still be hanging on, but with everything in me, I believed it to be true. Now you're probably thinking, well, then you knew. Well, I didn't. I absolutely didn't. Because at any point, all my clients could have dropped us as a service provider. They all could have cut contracts and we could have burnt through all of our cash. We could have had lawsuits. We could have all these things happening and that wouldn't leave us where we are today. That wouldn't leave me in this spot where I'm able to have a company that's much larger than it was when I left my job a year ago. That wouldn't leave me in a position to where we're getting an office now, to where I have great staff on helping me out, where we have more clients, we have, a bigger valuation. We have all these things in place. We have all this infrastructure. We have thousands of dollars of gear for the team, and we didn't have that a year ago. And it's super exciting to me because I didn't know if this was going to work. I had people in my life tell me, "Hey, you have a great job. They're paying you well. It doesn't matter that you are miserable 24/7. You need to stay." And it's like, well, no, the fuck I don't. And no, you don't. If you're miserable in your position, if you're miserable where you're at, whether that be in your job or in life, and you have the opportunity to take the leap, please do it. Maybe that's outside of your professional life too. Maybe that's in a relationship. Maybe that's traveling. Maybe that's, whatever it is. Maybe that's going and starting the gym. Whatever it is, take the leap. Because even if you fail, even if you crash and burn, there will be a lesson in it. And there will be something you can take from it 100%. And the one thing that I think really, really helped me on this journey was probably, I want to say about 6 months ago. The business had been a little bit stagnant for the past bit. And I was praying about it. I was, why do I feel like nothing's happening? Why do I feel like we're staying flat? Why do I feel like I'm not growing? And what I felt like I was being told, I don't know if this is it. So I don't want to say, this is what God told me because maybe he didn't. Maybe this was something else. But what I felt like I was being told was you need to make it your duty to succeed. Right now you're trying to succeed for the wrong reasons and you need to make it your duty to be successful. And it was something that was super interesting to me because my whole life, I didn't want to be rich just to be rich. I didn't want to be successful just so that I could have all the money in the account, the houses and the cars and the watches and everything. I wanted to do it for other reasons. But it was so funny to me because nobody's ever asked me why. Nobody in my life has ever asked me why I wanted to be successful. They all just assumed it was because of money. And that's fine because money was part of the conversation more often than not. And they just assumed that, hey, just because there's financial goals, that's all that he's chasing. That's all that he wants. And so in communicating that or in having that be kind of the focus of conversation for so long, I think I subconsciously programmed myself to chase money. And I turned I turned away from that responsibility and that duty to be successful for the right reasons rather than just to chase a dollar amount. And when I kind of felt like I was hearing that, I was like, "Oh shit, that's dead on." I haven't been, trying to grow for the right reasons. And I don't even think it took a month after that, conversation with God or whatever you want to call it, for me to add 3 new clients on and add, a bunch of extra projects to the pipeline, which actually became clients later on down the road, and to start growing again and to shake that kind of weird sense of stagnation off and to keep scaling. And it's not because all of a sudden now I had so much more fire under my ass. It was because, hey, now I'm trying to scale for the right reasons. I'm not just trying to put more money in my pocket. I'm trying to grow the team. I'm trying to invest in my team members. I'm trying to grow the company. And I'm trying to help these businesses most of all, because you see businesses every day, or at least we do, that, they're awesome people, like phenomenal, like salt of the earth people, man, like just the fucking gems. And they have a great product or they have a great service and they're awesome people, but they just don't know how to market. They don't know how to advertise. They don't know how to basically do anything past kind of the cap where they're at. And it's something that I feel like I've been blessed with a skill set to, to help these people. And I want to do that. I really, really want to do that. And so when I was able to shift from, hey, like there's a monetary figure I want to hit to, hey, it's my duty to succeed and it's my duty to serve these people and not just the clients, but my team as well and my future team members and my future family by becoming the best version of myself for them. I was able to start scaling again and things started moving. So I'm really grateful for that conversation and, to have that insight bestowed upon me. But man, like for a long time, whether that was before I started my business or, kind of leading up to and during the stagnation phase, I didn't grow. And it's because I wasn't taking risk. And, like I was saying, there's the whole mindset shift that had to happen and kind of goal shift. But even before I started the business, I wasn't growing by not taking risks, right? I wouldn't have been able to grow my company to this point if I didn't go full time when I did. I, I'll just give you guys a little bit of an example, like a timeline of events where, in the past, I want to say we're in 2026 now, in the past 3.5 years that, if I wouldn't have taken risk, I wouldn't be anywhere near where I'm at. And the first one is starting 99th while I was still working a job. Now, this was seen as a big no-no because, they thought I was trying to steal business from them. And meanwhile, they cut off 80% of their clients and just kind of left them out to dry without any real service provider to help them. And so there's a huge gap in the market. And I said, hey, well, like, I'm not really doing anything in my evenings. My other business had just failed, I guess, like a year prior. So I was like, hey, I have this extra time. I'm not really streaming anymore. I'm not making content. I'm not really doing much with my time in my evenings. I'll start a business using the skills that I already have. And so I started my agency while I was working at a different agency. The thing is, the other agency was specialized in agriculture and we were not. And so when they dropped all the clients who weren't ag clients, they created kind of a vacuum in the market. And that's why I started 99th, because I saw a lot of these companies who needed marketing. They needed help. They couldn't do it themselves, or they weren't doing it themselves anyway. And so then I started 99th with my business partner and we saw the opportunity. So we jumped on it. And for maybe, I mean, I got in huge trouble and almost got fired numerous times for that. Um, but after a couple of years and when I got to a point with it where I said, hey, look, like it's either I'm going to keep 99th kind of running just as a little bit of side cash, or I'm going to scale 99th to get it to a point where I can employ a team, I can grow, I can hit all these goals and achieve all the things that I've always wanted to. But then I'm going to have to leave my job. So March 7th of 2025, I quit my job and I went full time. I didn't know if I was going to succeed. I didn't know what it would look like in a year. I had people saying, yeah, we'll see you in a year, as if I was going to fail and come back in a year. Right. And, blessed to say, I'm not there. That didn't happen. But when I left to go full time, that was, you know, it should have been probably the scariest thing I've ever done, but I felt so much peace going into it because I knew that I can't say that I knew. I didn't, but I felt so strongly that this was what I was called to do, and this is what you know, this is what I needed to do at the time. But another another big, big risk, and this is gonna be something that you guys were saying, "That's not a fucking risk, dude." But to me, it felt like a huge risk at the time, because there was no more hiding behind anything, is when I switched from cold calls to switched to cold calls from cold emails. And I'm probably saying, "Yeah, yeah, no shit, that's not a risk, dude." I understand, but for me, I've always been maybe it's a self-esteem thing. It could very well be, but for me, it was always it was always nice to be able to hide behind email or text message where I could say, "Oh, yeah, well, sorry, somebody else took my thing and messaged you," or "Yeah, whatever, that's not what I meant by that," or this or that, right? You have that extra layer of protection. But when I switch to cold calls, you don't get that anymore. They might not see your face, but you're sharing your name and you're actually speaking human to human, whether that, that isn't face to face. Granted, I will give you that, but it is still does feel like a big risk, or it did feel like a big risk for me at the time, because now it was, hey, this is 100% my reputation, not just my business reputation, but my reputation on the line. And you can't fake it, dude. You're not gonna fake at least I don't know how to, I guess, but well, there was no more faking it. There's no more hiding. And so for me, that risk was scary, but it also it helped us grow so immensely. Like we went from getting maybe, oh gosh, what was it? 2 emails back out of 2,000, cold emails, and that's just replies, it's not even meetings booked or anything, to in my first full week of cold calling, I booked follow-ups, it happened so fast that as soon as I jumped in and I did the fucking scary thing, good things started to happen. And the same thing happened when I started hiring staff before I felt ready. So there was a time when I was still working my job and I was using the money from my job to fund staff that I was hiring for my business and using the business money to cover expenses and growth. And so at the time, I was hiring staff that just they were horrible, just fucking terrible. So there was a long period where I fired everyone and I just did it myself. And so I was getting 3, 4 hours of sleep a night because I'm working 8 hours. I'm at the gym for an hour. And then I've got, whatever the rest is. What was that there's 15 hours? Yeah. So another, 10, 12 hours working on my business in the evenings. And so for me, I and this was fairly recent actually, that I just hired a bunch of new staff, or I hired a few new staff where I was like, "Hey, look, I don't know if I am ready to fully let go of this control." Maybe I'm a little bit of a control freak. That could definitely be the case, but I feel like it's something that's necessary for growth, obviously, because you can't have one person handling everything. And so what I did is I just hired staff. I said, "Hey, this needs to happen at some point. I don't feel I don't feel like I have all the systems in place. I don't have all the paperwork. I don't have all the training modules. I don't have everything in place. It's not all perfect, but I need to hire them." And so I didn't feel ready, but I did it. And I do fucking jump in and good things happen. My sales guy right now, dude's absolutely killing it. He's booking like 2 or 3 meetings a day with new businesses, and he's pitching himself now, which is super exciting. He pitched a website project to a company himself, and this was the first one that I think he did the full call, straight from prospecting, nurturing, calling, call to pitch, everything himself. And it's super exciting to see hey, if you jump in before you're ready, you're going to have to figure it out. And you're going to figure it out a hell of a lot faster than if you just kind of look at it from a distance, have no idea what's actually required, and then plug and play and hope that, when the time comes to actually do the thing, that what you did was right. I'm not saying don't prepare. Over prepare if anything, but don't be afraid to jump in, like, especially when it's scary. And now finally, like, w I wanna practice what I preach, obviously, and so we got an office, right? Like, we got an office that is humble, like, it's very humble. Like, we're gonna have space for 2, like, myself and 1 or 2 other people in there. We're only gonna have probably 2 people in person. Everyone else will stay remote, but we're in a tiny office, and it's adding a fair size expense to the books, and I don't feel 100% ready, but I feel at peace about the decision. I'm not terrified. Like, I think if it terrified me, I don't know that I would be as willing to do it, but I think it's gonna be something that's necessary to keep growing. We've had people ask us, "Hey, Wig, where's your office? Like, I'd love to come drop by when I'm in town." And we're like, "Oh, we don't have an office. Like, I can meet you at a coffee shop." And they're like, "Oh, never mind." And so that alone, like, we had 2 conversations in the same week with a couple of potential clients that said the same thing. And having to turn them away both times, or having to tell them that we don't have an office both times, was kind of not demoralizing, but it was kind of an eye-opening thing where I was like, "Oh, okay, maybe that is the next step in growing and in legitimizing us as a company." And so we're getting an office April 1st. This will be up, I think, March 25th, March 26th. So in that's just kind of the next big kind of risk that we're taking, that we're jumping into. And there is a much nicer office in the area that I would like to get into very soon, but I will need to hire a couple more people before that becomes a reality. So, man, yeah, just if you're gonna take advice from a 25-year-old, I mean, I don't think that anything that I've said today is going to hurt you in any way, shape, or form, as long as you're willing to learn, even if you fail. But just take the risk. You're gonna be better for it in the end.